San Francisco's a little different. I had some Vietnamese food last night. I don't think my palate and my I don't think I'm up to snuff culturally, but I'm trying to get there over the week. I do miss Flipside and their fish fry, and I'm looking forward to getting back to Wisconsin and enjoying a little bit of that. They present the show all week, including some of our great guests, like the one that sat down right at the beginning of the show. How lucky are we from the Locked On Packers podcast? Peter Bukowski is here. Peter, how are you today? You were doing some great work. I saw you with Evan Williams.
Yeah.
I can't wait to sink my teeth into that conversation and listen to the things that you discussed later tonight.
You're making me hungry. Speaking of sinking your teeth in, like now I want fish fry. They don't really, fish fry is not a Cali thing. Like they're not going to do that out
Is
here,
it a New York thing? You live in New York. Can you get a proper fish fry?
Well, not really. Like they do fish and chips, so it's a different. It's like cod. No, but like there's a difference between cod and perch. Come on.
Well, sure. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think deep fried cod counts. It's not perch. It's not walleye. But
see, if I see fish fry and I show up and there's cod, we're not at a fish fry.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Maybe we have to discuss.
Unless we
that.
caught it. Like, did we go to Canada and like catch it? Like that would be a different thing.
Okay, that's fair.
Where can you catch cod? I don't even know.
The Atlantic.
Maybe
the Pacific.
Yeah.
One of them.
Can we talk about something I know about?
Yes. In fact, I brought this up yesterday because we were discussing Jonathan Gannon. The Packers had announced him. I just noticed a trend on your podcast.
Uh-oh.
I think you do great work. I notice a trend where the Packers do something, and then I don't even. You talk to people and you're like, here's all the great things that I heard about this. This is why this person, Gannon, is so well respected. They brought back LaFleur. Here's why that's the right choice. I just noticed that you. Carrying water is that's a negative connotation, but you tend to support what the team does, or you have recently. So let's talk about starting with their decision to bring back LaFleur.
I don't know that that's always the case. Certainly, I think that
this offseason, maybe the last move or two.
I think generally my nature, Grant, and you know this about me, is I want to figure it out.
Okay.
Right? Like, okay, why do they do this? What is the reason? What is the upside case? Like, why does this make sense? Let me try and make sense of it. I always say that I like to solve problems when I do my show. Like, there's this problem. First thing we're going to do is talk about the problem.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The team can't close. Why can't they close? All right. Here's why.
Okay.
And then here are potential solves for that thing. And so this is why. So when we talked to Evan Williams, and I know he was on with Bill, and he said the way you close is through detail. You have to be detailed because late in the game, the fourth quarter, they start. He called them micro blown coverages,
sure,
or mini blown coverages. It's
little
like
things.
Can you be? That's sort of like being half pregnant or like sort of. Either you blow the coverage or you don't.
I would agree. Yeah.
But my point is the detail part. That was the part with Jonathan Gannon where that stood out like right away when I started talking to people that like he is someone who is going to have everyone on their details. That 2022 Eagles team. They played so disciplined. They played so in sync, and that is what you hope they can bring. That so I try and figure out, okay, why did the Packers do this? I think that's one of the reasons is they wanted to be buttoned up, and you could hear, not to overpump my interview with Evan Williams, but he seemed really excited about the prospect of getting more DBs on the field, having Javon Bullard on the field like all the time, right?
Those are their better players. Aren't there better players that, the safeties? I don't know.
You'd rather have Javon Bullard on the field than Tyron Hopper.
Yeah.
And that's no shade at Tyron Hopper, but Javon Bullard became a really good player this year.
Took a nice step.
And so having those guys on the field, I think is something that can benefit this team. Evan seemed really optimistic about what this is. He liked Jeff Hafley, but you could sort of hear without him saying these were things that we didn't do. He was saying these are things we didn't do that I'm glad we're going to get to do. And I think that is interesting. Like that part of it is trying to figure out what it's going to look like next, what could happen, what it could be. I don't know. I'm an optimist when it comes to those things. I'm a problem solver. And so I want to figure out, okay, what can it look like moving forward?
Do you think Jeff Hafley lacked in detail? Because everyone loved him. Everyone loved
Yeah, but just because everyone loves Rich Bisaccia, and that team does not, the special teams do not play detailed football. They just don't. And so this is certainly one place where I've been critical of the Packers, and that is I don't understand what does he do? What is the value add for him on this football team other than he's a great guy in the locker room? Okay, that's nice. You look at around the league, the modified kickoff rules. Do the Packers have a plan for that? Do they know how to maximize what those rules are for them? No, they're not going to be. And I've talked to people that have worked with Bisaccia before on staffs, and they're like, he's not going to be like in the lab dialing up new cool stuff. He's a rah-rah guy that's going to get your guys to play hard, and that's sort of where it stops. And that's just the game is so close now. Everyone, the coaching talent is so good that you need those little edges. The Rams, special teams cost them their season. And so, like the Packers, special teams cost them their season. I can't blame Rich Bisaccia for Brandon McManus having an out-of-body experience trying to kick the ball, but big punt returns to set up scoring drives for the Bears in that playoff game. The Panthers game, missed kicks.
Yeah.
The Broncos game, missed kicks. This is a trend here for this team.
For me on special teams, the missed kicks is one thing and the longer terms is one thing, but just on balance over the course of a season, it's 2 or 3 holding penalties a game that can amount to 30 plus yards of field position or more a game. And, we talk about how this offense, the EPA per play and the efficiency is so great. Why isn't the output better?
I've been attacked.
How? Yeah, you were EPA man. And
Jordan Love is EPA man, according to the Bears fans.
That's true. One of the things that I theorized throughout the year is, when Jordan Love is constantly trotting out and starting in his own 18, like no matter how efficient you are or how good your EPA per play is, when you're demanded to go 80 plus yards every drive, the scoring output just might not always be there. It might not match how good your offense actually is.
And that's something that I think, you look at the EPA numbers, and I do, and you go, why is the scoring doesn't match what we see in the EPA per play? Why does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
And there are a couple of reasons. Third down is a big one. The Packers are great on third down, which are high value EPA numbers, but they don't if you convert 3 third downs on a drive, that's going to be very valuable to EPA. But if it ends in a field goal, ultimately that's not as successful a drive as it could be. And so that is something that where you look at points per drive. They were good points per drive this year. They didn't have that many drives. Yeah. And they were not able to create when teams wanted to put a roof on everything. They did not have. Tom Brady mentioned this last year, and it's lived rent-free in my head ever since he said it, that this is not a detailed intermediate passing game.
I remember that.
They can create explosives as well as any team in the league. They were top 5 in explosive plays all year long, even without a good running game. But on 3rd and 6, it's all just Jordan Love trying to make something happen, or it's Matt LaFleur having to scheme up something nice. And they throw past the sticks, and they do like really good stuff on 3rd down. But on 1st and 10, it's nice to get 15.
Yeah.
You don't have to get 50.
It's nice to avoid 3rd down sometimes.
It's nice to avoid 3rd down altogether. And they I think last year too often, and this was something that wasn't happening at the end of the year, but in the middle of the year was a big problem, right?
Yep.
The Panthers game is a great example. The Eagles game is a great example. It's just sort of like, that was when I started to come on board with the Matt LaFleur stuff. Because I'm like, this is just not NFL offense. This is not
with the criticism.
With the criticism of Matt LaFleur. Like, I heard it in a way that I had not really registered it before. And then I felt like starting with the Lions game, he really took the governor off and just let Jordan Love go play. And that's something where if they start that from day 1 next year,
sure,
I think that will pay massive dividends, but they might not, right? Like that doesn't mean they will do that. But like, it was almost like they had to really learn that their running game stunk.
They had to prove it
over and over and over.
It felt like Bill and I, or even on this show, I would say, well, if they can't run it this week, they won't be able to run it at all.
And then they wouldn't. And then next week.
And then the next week, it'd be like, but the Steel, like maybe they can run it. And it just felt like we're going to make damn sure we can't run the ball before we abandon it. And it was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it probably cost them a game or two, which means they're the 7th seed. And
it cost them the Eagles game, and it cost them the Panthers game.
Yeah.
And what's funny about the Panthers game is that was actually, there were times when they were a little too aggressive, and it was like they couldn't find that Goldilocks zone. And I think part of that is the personnel. Do you have someone that can run that like 12-yard dig and be open consistently? Like, that's not really what Christian Watson does. It's kind of what Dontavian Wicks does, and that's why he was so good in that Lions game against man coverage. He was also hurt all year. I do think that's something Matthew Golden can do, but another piece of LaFleur criticism that I think is worth leveling here is we saw Matthew Golden, how good he was in the Bears game.
Mm-hmm.
Are we just going to pretend like he couldn't have been doing that all year? Like, why? And I know he was hurt in the middle of the year too, but I thought he was really stacking, sorry, Mike McCarthy, to borrow this. He was really stacking success early in the season. Then Jaden Reed comes back, Christian Watson comes back, and it's like, well, now you're going to be relegated to this other role. I think without Romeo Doubs this year, I think Matthew Golden is going to be elevated in a real way. And because this is not an offense built around Tucker Kraft, who I do think is their best pass catcher, I think that's going to mean a lot of opportunities for Matthew Golden. I think this team with Golden, Watson, Reed, and Kraft, that is as an explosive a 4 as any team in the NFL has. but they have to be able to make some mid-range jumpers too, right? Like, I think that's the final evolution of this offense. I asked Evan Williams, like, the Seahawks beat the 49ers, 41-6 in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
The Packers are really good. Where are those games? Even every once in a while, a team will stumble into a 35-13 game. Everything clicks. Why did the Packers not have one of those last year? They did in 2024 when they weren't. I don't think they were as good in 2024. They beat the brakes off the Saints. They beat the brakes off the Seahawks. We didn't see that like at all this year. They were on their way to doing it against Denver. That would have been a signature win. Everyone gets hurt, and you have that moment where you're just like, man, this team is just like, it felt last year that they were cursed a little bit.
It did in that game, especially. And I want to go back to that. I would love to know the alternate universe where Parsons and Watson don't go down. And maybe they would have blown that game like they blew all the other one. Like, I'm not discounting that possibility. I would just love to know. Peter Bukowski is here, Locked On Packers, The Leap. What's the one thing that Matt LaFleur has to change or has to get better at if this team is going to, let's just say, make a Super Bowl? Forget winning, just like get over the hump that they've been unable to get over.
I think part of it is what we just talked about with the aggressiveness in calling the game. Okay. I think he's a really good play designer. And I think generally when he wants to do certain things, he's good at finding the best ways to do those things. But he doesn't always have, I don't think, the knobs dilated correctly.
Feel the game.
The feel of the game, yeah. And I think that part of that is, he's fourth down decision making. He's a very emotional coach when it comes to some of that stuff. I wish they were a little bit more tethered to some of the underlying numbers and stuff like that. But I also understand that I'm just like a guy with a laptop and he's the coach.
Or have a unique approach and stick with it. And I don't want to feel like
this is the thing is have a process that is a process.
Yeah.
Don't just feel, it feels so ad hoc. Where like the Lions, I think there are sometimes the Lions go for it on fourth down and you're just like, Dan, are you okay? Are you feeling okay? But that's who they are.
Yep.
And he can stand at the podium after every game and go, this is who we are. This is our identity. We are going to keep doing this. And it has worked enough for them that the players will continue to buy in. If, the worm turns a little bit on some of the making it and stuff, then maybe you have a problem in the locker room where they're like, can we like take the points every once in a while? Because football players are like fans. Like they're not above knee-jerk reactions. They're not above emotional reactions and, the sort of armchair Monday morning quarterbacking that is rampant on talk radio and on podcasts. So like, that's what we get to do. But the players are human beings. Like they're there too. And I think if the coach can say, this is our identity and how we handle these situations, it makes it easier to stand in front of your team and makes it easier to stand in front of the assembled media after a game and say, this is why this decision was made. Not just like, I felt like this was the right thing to do.
That makes sense. Excluding Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, who's the most important Packer next year if they want to go farther?
I mean, I think the game that we watched the last time they played made it very clear that the answer is Zach Tom. Because if you look at the splits when he's on the field, the offense is just significantly better than when it's off the field. And there is a trickle-down effect. Mm-hmm. Like offensive line is one of those positions where I think we underestimate at times the gap between the starters and the backups. And I think nowhere is that more apparent. Well, probably quarterback is the place where it's most apparent. But the second most apparent place is offensive line.
I think it was more apparent on the Packers O-line this year, just than at quarterback.
Because Malik Willis came in and played great, right? But you feel like you have great depth. I came into the season saying this is the deepest offensive line in the league.
I thought so.
Well, that's true until 3/5 of the line are hurt.
And then Rasheed Walker needs his face mask replaced in Cleveland.
Right. And it's like, what is happening here? It's sort of like the analogy that I use is like, if you leave 15 extra minutes when you go somewhere, you're inevitably early. But if something happens where you needed that cushion, you really needed an hour.
Sure.
And so like, if something happens, you're going to be late.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, okay, being early, being always 15 minutes early is nice, but it's not actually going to save you if something, unforeseen happens, you get stuck in traffic or there's an accident right in front of you. Like those kinds of 15 minutes, not going to save you. So I feel like that's kind of what depth along the offensive line is, because at a certain point, there's just a critical mass of injuries. And that's where they were this year. I also think Rasheed Walker did not play to the standard that he has set for himself. He almost single-handedly sold the Bears game. I mean, his second half was an abomination.
And I think the case that he did.
You can. And had Zach Tom played, I think Jordan Morgan might have started that game at left tackle. And at the very least, after the first half, Jordan Morgan would have been playing in the second half if Zach Tom is playing, and they probably win the game.
You feel good about him left tackle if he's the left tackle week 1 next year?
I would have felt a lot better had I seen him play football in the NFL at left tackle at some point this year. I don't understand what the plan was in the preseason, Grant. Anthony Belton is apparently a tackle only in the preseason, And then the first time they need a guard, he plays guard. Why didn't he train there?
They had 3 left guards. Belton and Jenkins and Banks were all probably best at left guard.
Yeah, probably, but Belton hadn't even played there. He hadn't even practiced there. So like that, it's so hard when they like, we're going to cross train everybody. And then the one guy they don't cross train is the guy that they just makes his first start at guard, and the first snaps he takes probably ever at guard is in a game where you need to win. Like that's some of the stuff with the offensive line where I'm just like, I don't know what the plan is here. And Jordan Morgan, same thing. They I guess let him compete at left tackle in the preseason. He played really well. And then, well, no, now you're in a right guard rotation with Sean Ryan. Like, what? That doesn't make any, either let him play tackle or let him practice at being a guard. Like, maybe he would have been a better guard when he had to play. He was bad at guard. Mm-hmm. Maybe he would have been better had he just practiced there. Or maybe you could have gone to him instead of Rasheed Walker when it became clear 6 weeks into the season that not only was Rasheed Walker going to shoot his mouth off in stupid ways, but that he was also not going to play well. And then you would have had someone to put in there. So they've mismanaged the offensive line so many times that I don't know how you can trust that they're going to be able to get it right the next time. But in terms of is he a day one left tackle starter in 2026? I think that's going to be the plan. We'll see how it goes.
I think Ryan Wood brought this up when he was on with me last Friday. I think this organization probably needed to be humbled a little bit on the O-line. You nail the 4th round pick at left tackle. You nail the 7th round pick. You can move everyone around, and it had been working seamlessly for so long. They probably needed a year to be humbled.
And they've been nailing 4th round picks from time immemorial to turning them into high quality players. So they just think, well, we can just put anybody in there. And the reality is, no, you can't.
60 seconds. You like the Super Bowl matchup? Thoughts on the big game?
I think this is a great Super Bowl matchup. I don't know that the Patriots were one of the best, 3 or 4 teams in the NFL this season, but the Seahawks certainly were. I think the Super Bowl was last week. I think the Seahawks are going to win. But I love the Patriots are a blue blood franchise. They've got an up and coming quarterback. I'm bummed that Drake May is not 100% healthy because I'd love to see him 100% healthy against this defense. I think there's a chance they eat him alive, but I think Mike Vrabel is a good coach, and this defense is playing really, really well for the Patriots. This could be one of those 17-14. Why did we watch this kind of games at the end?
It's funny. I heard people today, I've heard on different shows. It's man, there's no stars this year. There's no Mahomes. There's no Kelsey. I'm wait, I was here a year ago when everyone was so sick of Mahomes and Kelsey and Taylor Swift. And now it's we have 2 football teams with good coaches and no one. Well, not no one. I love the game. A lot of people they're kind of snoozed by it, but not me. I'm a football purist. You know me. I just love the trenches.
You are. I've always said that about you. Big football guy.
Thank you for the time, Peter. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you as well. We will be back in a couple of minutes. Continue our coverage here from Radio Row.